Welcome to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hilary.
I'm Nick.
And today we are talking primarily about Ms. Marvel, Fists of Justice.
Okay.
The Marvels just came out. I don't know if you're aware.
Yes, I am aware. Yeah.
I loved it.
I did too.
I thought it was super, super fun.
I did too. I really had a good time with it.
Captain Marvel, can't go wrong.
I know.
And Brie Larson, Brie Larson is my absolute favorite portrayal of Captain Marvel. I feel like you see a lot of different variations in her character kind of throughout the comics, which, by the way, I've read all of.
I know you have.
I feel like Brie Larson just captures everything that I really like about Captain Marvel in a really cool way. Like, she's tough, but she has heart, but she's kind of a little like dumb about people, which I really think she portrays really well, and I just love it. I love all of it.
I agree. I thought the chemistry that the three leads of that movie had was
unbelievable,
off the charts, and I thought the way their powers are linked and the way that when they use them, they keep switching.
The choreography of like the fighting when that was happening, when they're first figuring it out and it's confusing.
It's like frenetic
seeing
and
them
messy.
Like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. Really cool. And then once they like really know what they're doing and have like crafted how they're going to fight this way, also really cool.
Yeah.
Going into that movie, I mean, we're not talking about this movie in this episode, but I've got to talk about it.
Sure.
Going into the movie, I was like, this is lame. I mean, like Captain Marvel can stand on her own. We're just like saddling her with these other characters, and it felt very
characters that you really had to watch TV shows to get.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it did a good job of sort of being like, here's the basics, but
which I did watch those, and so I felt prepared going in, but it felt to me like the decision to do it, like I like those characters. Those characters are great. I felt like the decision was weak. But then when I saw the movie, I was like, no, this is great.
Yeah.
This is so, like, the way that they interact is really great. I thought it was really creative. I thought it showed me that it wasn't just this, like, top-down, like, well, we got to cram all the women together kind of a thing. Like, it was an actual artistic choice that was really well done and cool. So, anyway, I really enjoyed the Marvels.
Yeah, and, I mean, I guess slight spoilers for the Marvels, but we do get a little X-Men content in this movie,
So you get to the end of the movie, and I'm like, well, now I'm in the mood for some X-Men.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're saying all this, I think, to try to throw me off the trail of the fact that you have lured me back here to complete a Venom trilogy.
Oh,
somehow.
Stop. That was an accident.
Was it?
Was it? It was an accident.
Because the only time I've been on this show in the last, year, Venom has also been here. So that's all I'm saying.
Every time? Is that true?
Yeah, Dark Web. What was the other one?
Dark Web was your idea.
I did like Dark Web.
It was your fault that any of
like
this
Dark
Venom
Web.
stuff happened to begin with.
And you know what? Dark Web, A Christmas Story. So go back. It's the perfect time of year. But yeah, we did Dark Web, we did Poison X, and here we are back for Ms. Marvel and Wolverine, Ms. Marvel Fists of Justice.
We got some more. So anyway, Ms. Marvel coming up into the comics is becoming very entwined with mutants and the X-Men and all of that stuff. So we thought we'd take kind of a step back to see not the first connection of Ms. Marvel and the X-Men, because she has kind of a team up with Wolverine. She
does, yeah. Back in the G. Willow Wilson run, the first Ms. Marvel of the Kamala Khan character, she has a little 2-issue team up. That's fun. I like it quite a bit, and they do reference that in here. So.
Yeah, but this one we are doing Ms. Marvel, Fists of Justice, where she teams up with first Wolverine and the X-Men, then with Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Yes. Then
with Venom.
Uh-huh. And
I'm kind of interested. I wonder why those three.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting, because this is relatively recent, so it's not even like this was coming out as the Moon Knight show was coming out. I mean, I guess sort of in the vicinity of that. So,
I mean, I guess it could be like now people are like, oh, right, Moon Knight is a thing.
Because, I mean,
Let's put him in.
You had a Ms. Marvel show, you had a Moon Knight show, so maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, Nick, you like to give me the facts. You want to give me some facts about this issue?
Sure.
Or
yes,
this run?
I can do that. It was written by Jody Houser. Each issue has a different artist behind it, and you can see, especially the Moon Knight, I think really stands out as a different style. But Z. Carlos, Ibram Robertson, and David Watcher do the art, respectively, in the 3 issues. I can give you a plot synopsis from Marvel, if you'd like.
Do it. This is the official plot synopsis?
This is.
All right.
Yes. A dire threat, a dangerous mystery, and only the toughest heroes of the Marvel Universe can save the day. Ms. Marvel is taking matters into her own embiggened hands, but with Krakoan tech compromised, you can bet Wolverine and the X-Men won't be far behind. The best there is at what he does joins one of the Marvel Universe's brightest heroes to kick off an action-packed adventure. But to solve this conundrum, Kamala Khan will need to rub shoulders with more dark vigilantes. When a mechanical and maniacal evil brings her into Moon Knight's orbit, the gravity of what they uncover will require them to plumb the depths of life and death. But can anything prepare Kamala for a team-up with Venom?
Okay.
Dun, dun,
that's an okay synopsis,
yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah, I think so.
That gets there. I think that the qualification of some of these characters is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, it just made me think about how, like, we start with the X-Men and then we go to Moon Knight and Venom. Moon Knight and Venom, I feel like, makes sense thematically together. Yeah. They have, like, that dark vibe going on. And then there's the X-Men at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's not really a through line. Is there?
No, there is. There is. It's specifically what the villains are going after, and it's something that Wolverine and Moon Knight and Venom all have in common.
Right.
But I think that's a bit of a spoiler for what's happening, so I think that's why it's not in the synopsis.
Got it. Okay, so let's break it down.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yeah, why not?
So the first issue has Ms. Marvel kind of like showing up at the treehouse in New York City, basically as a tourist.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like they have open hours. It's it's like visiting the UN or something like that.
Yeah, so she's like wandering around, like, oh look, it's the Krakoa tree thing. Yeah. Yay, isn't this fun? Then she sees Wolverine kind of stalking by, and she's like, isn't it weird that I am a superhero and I teamed up with Wolverine? Isn't that crazy? And he just sort of like ignores her and walks past.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, okay, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, Wolverine's going through some stuff because he's not currently with the X-Men at this point, and that seems to be a bit of a sore spot for him throughout.
Yes. So he stalks by, and she's sad about it, but then she notices this, like, bug thing kind of flying past her towards him.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It seems like it.
And she's like, well, I mean, that's usually not a great thing when, like, a bunch of superheroes are around and something weird happens.
Yeah, right.
So I'm just going to kind of pay attention to this. She watches it, and it starts to dig into the treehouse. And so she's like, ugh. She doesn't want to alert. This feels like a little bit of a conceit that I didn't super buy, but she doesn't want to alert the crowd that there might be something weird. And so she just kind of like tries to get the thing out of the Krakoa tree by herself without telling anybody.
Right. Here's a potentially controversial statement, Hilary. I kind of like the way in which the MCU has changed Kamala's powers, so she doesn't just do like the Reed Richards stretchy things, and it's more like energy she can control, because when she's getting the bugs out, she turns her fingers into like little pincers
to get in. Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm not super into the world of Ms. Marvel, so I don't know how popular her power is. Yeah. But I hate it a lot. The whole embiggen thing and the stretchy stuff. And I really like how they managed to incorporate similar movements and things into her power while making it like a light-based thing, which visually is more interesting to me. Yeah. And also, I just have a thing with stretchy powers. Yeah. I feel like this is the reason that the Fantastic Four cannot have a successful franchise, because the lead character is a stupid stretchy power guy.
Yeah.
That is my hot take.
I agree. I mean, the Fantastic Four, we'll see what happens as, there's big plans and works for it. I've enjoyed many a Fantastic Four story, but there is something, like, you almost have to do a period piece with the Fantastic Four because it's inherently of its time, and the stretchiness of it is difficult.
Just going to stretch my neck really long and have my head over here. It's just, I hate it. Anyway, you brought it up, not me.
I did. Well, I think that's a place where DC wins when it comes to like Plastic Man, because Plastic Man
he's
just a goofy, dumb character.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
You're not supposed to take anything seriously that he does. It's almost like breaking the fourth wall kind of stuff.
Slapsticky nonsense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. But anyway, yes, she's stretchy. So she reaches her little fingers in and like gets the bug out. But then lurking behind her now it's not Cyclops yet.
It's Rogue and Jean.
And boy, do they look mean.
They do.
Listen, this feels out of character to me.
Yeah.
Like, I know that now that Krakoa is like its nation and this is a consulate, so everything's very grandiose with Krakoa at the moment. But these two characters, I don't really buy being like mean to a little girl.
I know.
who's like touching their tray.
Yeah, well, I guess I figure Rogue would be like, "What you doing there, sugar?" Instead of like, "How dare you?"
Yeah, but the two of them are like looming. It's very, intense, and they're like, "Hello, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Not causing an international incident."
Yeah.
And
Rogue's very X-Men 97 in her looks.
Yes. Yeah. So Rogue and Jean are talking to Kamala about what she's doing. She's like, "This is something," and she gets the thing out, and she's like, "It's a weird little bug robot thing."
Yeah.
And it was drilling into your thing. I don't know what happens next.
Well, Wolverine vouches for her, and she's like, hey, she's fine. She's, we've worked together before. It's all good. And then suddenly the bug starts flying and they destroy that one and they think, oh, great. But then like another swarm starts coming towards them. It's like a cloud.
And they have they kind of lock into like a team vibe because Kamala goes into her Ms. Marvel outfit and they start like Rogue, you go scout up there and we're gonna do this thing over here, and they're teaming up.
Yeah.
Still no Cyclops?
No, this is about Cyclops
has some grand entrance.
Yeah, Cyclops kind of shows up. He appears.
He comes out of the gateway.
Yeah, and so this is interesting because Kamala was part of the new champions. So not like, the Iceman, Hercules, Black Widow that we talked about in the Iceman Spotlight, but there was a reboot of that team, and it was like, it was Ms. Marvel, it was Gwenpool, it was Miles Morales, and it was the young, time-displaced Cyclops.
So she feels like she knows Cyclops,
she's
but
got
it's
a lot of history
Cyclops.
With Cyclops, but then this is like grown man Cyclops, and she's like, are we friends? Do we know each other?
But the cool thing, I think, is right away, Cyclops is like, just shows her respect.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, Ms. Marvel, what's going on? La, 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 la.
He does.
So then, more teaming up, trying to fight this cloud of bug robots.
Bug robots.
And
they basically think they've got it. And so the X-Men leave. And then it's just like Kamala and Wolverine. But then Wolverine's like, it's on the air. He's smelling it. And another wave comes after the X-Men have left. Right. So now we're really kind of down. And the X-Men have gone to like space. So they don't...
Which, again... I mean, they they act like that's a big deal, but it's just walking through a gateway. It's just like 1 second. Fine, yes, they're out of there. And so they bring in Monet and Armor, which are pretty big guns.
Yeah,
and they're gonna take care of this second wave.
Yes. Storm has a grand entrance at this point where she comes in.
Yeah, they're basically getting pretty overwhelmed because it's a huge swarm.
Yeah, it's too much.
And Storm comes in. She has just arrived in the area and is like, I guess I'm going to be dealing with this situation.
What's going on, everybody?
And she, zaps them all with her lightning. Yes. And then that basically takes care of it.
So it's Kamala's plan then to have Wolverine be the bait.
Right.
And so Armor extends the armor over Monet, herself, Ms. Marvel, and Storm, and then Wolverine just runs for it.
Yeah.
And then all the bugs attack Wolverine simultaneously, and now they're all in one place. So Storm calls down lightning to basically destroy Wolverine.
Yep.
And it kills all the bugs, and Wolverine is fine, and he and Kamala have sort of a I hated that plan, but it worked.
Yeah.
And then we sort of pull back to see this base that's just empty. We don't see it, but it's just sort of something big's going on here. Mm-hmm. The end of Ms. Marvel and Wolverine.
Dun, dun, dun. The next one is Ms. Marvel and Moon Knight.
Okay, what is your history, if anything, with Moon Knight?
The show.
Just the show. So he's not popped up
I didn't know that he existed.
Really? Okay.
And then there was a show, and I was like, this is crazy.
My experience with Moon Knight growing up was basically the Marvel trading cards and having a Moon Knight card and being like, what's this guy all about? Okay. I don't know. The most Moon Knight that I've read would be when he was a member of Secret Avengers, and I read some Moon Knight there. But and I also watched the show, which I was very whatever about.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I enjoy watching Oscar Isaac. I think he's a compelling person, and it was
as Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. Did you?
No, we don't.
Is
talk
that what
about,
you liked?
We don't talk about him as Apocalypse.
Sorry.
So on that level, I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of kooky and weird.
It is kooky.
Ends up being kind of like a young Indiana Jones vibe toward the end. But anyway.
I remember at the time Eric was like, the most unrealistic thing about the Moon Knight show is believing that Oscar Isaacs can't get a date.
Truth. So anyway, we get Kamala. She's decided she wants to investigate what is happening with these bugs.
Yeah.
Because she can tell that there's more to it. They scratched her and they got her DNA or something.
Yeah.
And she's she's sort of deducing that like something is going after people with powers.
Yes.
So she goes to Moon Knight's neighborhood because she has been on social media.
That's right.
Because like sometimes that she can get more information just like surfing the web or whatever kids do.
Just popping on threads.
And she finds out that something similar has happened in Moon Knight's neighborhood.
Yes.
And so she goes down and is like, he's I guess sort of like a crime lord.
That's how it feels like this era of Moon Knight is playing out.
Which is that his...
I only read him in Secret Avengers, so I don't know.
I don't know if he's in charge of crime, but it's just that vibe. You know what I mean? Because it's like he's protecting the neighborhood.
Yeah.
In a way that crime lords do.
Sure.
But I guess I don't know if he has like a gang.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think that's
But like she gets there and he's got like some lady who's like, please protect my family. And he's like, I will protect your family.
Yeah.
And then she leaves. And so then Ms. Marvel goes up to him and is like, hey, dude, I've heard about this problem that you've been having. The X-Men just had a similar problem, and I'm looking into it. And he's like, yes, I have been having this problem, but it's my neighborhood, and I will handle it. And she's like, I'm just going to tag along.
We're just going to team up.
So she and Moon Knight go and like investigate the situation.
Yeah.
They get caught in a trap, and it's like, because she remembers that there were 2 waves of
the bug things,
of the bug things. And is this the one where they're rats?
Yes.
They're rats in this one. Same kind of tech, but they're rats instead of bugs.
Yeah.
She figures out that like they basically drew them there so that they could get Moon Knight's whatever.
Yeah.
They kind of get rid of the first wave of rats, and then she's like, wait, there was a second wave of the bugs, so there's probably going to be a second wave of rats, which is cool that she kind of like gets to use her like experience so far and like is accumulating this kind of expertise in this particular problem. So then Moon Knight is like, well, okay, we're gonna have to go talk to this other Moon Knight guy, Hunter's Moon, who seems to also have a connection to Khonshu.
Yeah, they say that he's another agent of Khonshu. I don't know anything about this, so I can't help you here. All I can say is Hunter's Moon sounds like a locally made beer. So
it does.
It's an IPA and
like with a blue label.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, she and Moon Knight find Hunter's Moon. Hunter's Moon's like, I'm the real agent of Khonshu. And he's like, not right now, dude. And they kind of unify their powers, I think. Like Hunter's Moon does some prayer. Yeah. And giant Khonshu shows up.
And we see the rats have become almost like a mech. They're like, they're like Power Rangers at this point.
And Ms. Marvel embiggens.
Yeah. And so it's like giant Khonshu, the giant like whatever rat transformer.
Giant Ms. Marvel. Yeah. And they're like, we're going to deal with this.
Yes.
And she, I think, holds the mech. And Hunter's Moon summons the Khonshu thing. Moon Knight does some fancy Moon Knight
thing. He does a Moon Knight thing. Yeah.
And it combines, and the power is like, ah!
Moon Knight's gonna
and
Moon Knight,
they defeat the giant rat thing.
Yes.
Ms. Marvel grabs a sample of the rat thing. I think it's just an individual rat.
I think so.
To take back to Monet so that she and the X-Men can do science-y, Krakoa-y things. Yep. And that's basically it. They've defeated this round of the robot creatures.
And they take us to your area of expertise, Ms. Marvel and Venom.
As I'm reading this, I'm like, why do I know more about this character than any other character in the Marvel universe?
I know.
Anyway, so she has a tracker that she got from Monet with Krakoa-y, techy stuff. And she finds another swarm that's now going after Venom.
And these are kind of like Firefly kind of things.
Yeah, which was kind of disappointing because like bugs,
we kind of went back
rats,
to bugs. I know, yeah.
Then, I don't know, squid.
Yeah, something, yeah.
Something. But anyway, she finds them. They're like currently attacking Venom.
Yeah.
Venom in this is not Eddie Brock.
Yeah, I was confused about this, and I knew that you'd be able to set me straight.
You can tell the difference because he has chains on his arm.
Oh, okay.
The chains on his arm are the special thing that identify him.
As if Venom wasn't Hot Topic enough. This guy had some chains to his arms. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, it makes sense because it is his teenage son. It's Eddie Brock's teenage son.
Okay.
Who bonded with Venom after Eddie Brock died.
I was so confused in Dark Web about what the heck was happening with Venom.
Yes, this is the Venom. This is the Venom that we see in Dark Web.
Okay.
And I think this is right before that.
Yeah.
Because in Dark Web, Ms. Marvel sort of is familiar with him.
Yeah, they have a bit of a relationship. Yeah.
And yeah, this is the first time that she's meeting him. She seems to know that it's not Eddie.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's his son.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to watch throughout the issue because she treats him as if he's another superhero who knows what he's doing, and she keeps being like, what should, like, team up like she did with the other ones,
right?
But he's just some kid. Like, this guy doesn't know anything. He has Venom. Venom the symbiote knows
stuff,
how to do things, but for the most part it's just like, I'm just watching her interact with him and being like, he's not gonna help you, he's just a kid, sweetie. But anyway, they sort of team up. Venom,
because the bug things set a building on fire, and they have to, like, rescue the people from the fire. And
that's right. So you have a classic
Venom
moment where he's like, "It's fire, I can't," because it hurts Venom.
Sure.
But then Venom, the symbiote, and the kid have like a little interaction. He's like, "No, we have to. Eddie would have blah."
Yeah.
And so it's basically the voice from the movie is what I do.
Yeah.
But classic Venom, I'm going to be a hero anyway, even though I'm not inclined to. And so he saves the people. The swarm is going after everybody. And Venom realizes that they took a piece of the symbiote. Yeah. So they defeat the swarm, this initial swarm. And Ms. Marvel is like, it's okay, cool, I've got this tracker. But then they destroy the tracker. And so what are we going to do? And Venom's like, they have a piece of me. I know where it is. Yeah. And so they go off chasing his sense of the piece of the symbiote that they took. So they end up in like a apartment building sort of.
Yeah, but it seems like it has a bit of a lab area set up in it. It's like, seems like something was going down there and it's been abandoned. But you have a guy who is, I think, a potential test subject for whatever's going on.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing for them to find, because you think, like, you see the lab and you're like, okay, well, we're gonna see like a scientist or like the guy with the green, because we've seen there's a guy with the green arm, who is
the man with the peacock tattoo,
who is someone who has interacted with the X-Men. Yeah, so you expect to see like him or like a lab coat guy, but you see this like weird scraggly dude who's like injecting himself with something. He's like, you're too late. Yeah. And they're like, what the heck was that? And he starts to like, he says that they, whoever they is, have told him that they're going to heal him. He has a terminal disease and they're going to heal him and give him eternal life. And he's like, cool.
Yeah, great.
So he thinks that he's living forever now. And then he starts like growing and like morphing, and it's like she mentions Akira later on, and it's definite Akira vibe with like the bubble skin and like just like kind of exploding. And then he kind of attacks them, and there's like a scuffle, and eventually he just like melts away into nothing.
He just keeps like mutating or whatever and just getting more. He's just like tissue, and it's crazy, and then he dissolves kind of.
Yeah.
And she thinks it's Venom, and Venom's like, if I could have done that, I would have done it from the beginning. You
know? And Venom's sort of like, well, he did it to himself. And she's like, nobody deserves to die like that.
And this is where she kind of figures out, they're going after people specifically with regenerative capabilities.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, I haven't read a lot. I've read like the very first issue of Ms. Marvel, and then not really anything until this. So I don't know if this detective work stuff is typical of her, but I like it. I like that she's sort of like, she's interacting with people from all over the Marvel universe and like piecing things together. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think that was the original vibe with her, but I think as she's become more of a central figure in the Marvel universe, they're giving her different things, and we're putting her in storylines where she's interacting with all different elements, you know.
Yeah.
Less of that sort of fangirl energy that they gave her in the beginning, and giving her a little bit more agency and a purpose.
Well, I like it because it works with what she's already doing. Like, she has these broad experiences sort of because she's a lesser character initially.
Yeah.
So then morphing that into her using those broad experiences to enhance her own understanding in a way that the individual groups don't, because they only have their limited experience. I think is a cool thing to do.
It's a bit of a classic Spider-Man model where Spider-Man was always, at least saw himself kind of as like lesser than the others, and he
like
was
catching subways.
Yes, and he was still even when he's like interacting with the Fantastic Four or whoever it is, he's still kind of himself acting like an outsider to like the whole superhero. I mean,
he'll like
less
pop
so
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less so now. He's more mainstream now. But in the early days, and when I was like reading comics as a kid, that was still very much part of Spider-Man's energy. That like he does superhero things, but he's not like one of the
He's
cool
mainly
kids.
concerned with his neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And that worked well for him, Spider-Man as a character.
He's done okay for himself.
He's managed to have some staying power.
Yeah. He really found his instrument. So the monster destroys itself. Venom takes the piece of him that was in there, but there's still something missing. And so they figure, we've got to figure out.
Is there something missing, or does Venom just have the memories now?
No, he's still missing pieces.
Okay.
He's missing pieces of himself, but they're more diluted.
I see.
And he can't tell exactly, like as precisely where they are, but he knows they're below him. Like Ms. Marvel figures out that for some reason she figures out that there must be something below them, and he's like, yeah, that's right, that's where they are. They're below me. Okay. And so they go down and find another lab.
Yeah, but like a real lab.
Yeah,
like
a more advanced lab. And there's the man with the peacock tattoo. Now we're seeing like what we were expecting initially. Yeah. It's like the full thing. Xeno, is doing some sort of experiment.
Yes, and Xeno in the comics has been very, like, xenophobic, hence the name they chose for themselves. They're very anti-mutants, and they've been trying to, like, infiltrate Krakoa and, like, take it down from the inside. So they're, like,
well, there's something about Krakoa. Like, you always have the anti-mutant whatever. But now Krakoa being its own nation, I feel like has stimulated another, a whole nother level. Yeah. Where they're, like... They're declaring their own sovereignty.
Yes.
And so people are now like, no.
Yeah.
And so they freak out about that. Yeah. And so, we've got Xeno, we've got the man with the peacock tattoo. They're doing experiments they're getting samples from people who have like Healy type powers. Yeah. Wolverine, Moon Knight, apparently, which I didn't know that was a thing. Moon Knight has regenerative, yep. And now Venom, which was an interesting take.
Well, I think Venom and Ms. Marvel, it's like it's regenerative, but it's also they can reform themselves, and I think that's part of it.
There's this like smarmy little scientist guy who's currently messing with it, and he says something about thinking that the symbiote would sort of balance all of the different kind of powers that have been happening.
Yeah, it could sort of like be an aggregator, right?
And that did not happen.
Yeah.
But so they've got these like test subjects who I guess are all terminally ill patients in these like container things where they can give them this medicine. But it's not ready yet. So we see Xeno, we see Peacock Tattoo Guy. Yeah. They're doing this experimenty stuff. And so having seen this, but not been seen yet, Ms. Marvel and Venom decide that they need to bring in some backup. And so they bring in Wolverine, Moon Knight. Yep. Just that?
Yeah.
So the people currently affected by the situation. Exactly. She brings in, they're going to take down the situation. So they come in, guns blazing, and the green tattoo guy tells the scientist, we're just going to let the patients deal with the situation.
Let's do it.
Scientists, no, they're not ready. We've just got to do it. So they do the thing, and all of these giant monster people burst out because they're all doing the Akira thing with the bulging muscles and tissue and all kinds of stuff. Yep. And they're all freaking out because they're in pain. They don't understand. And they're not really attacking anyone in particular. They're basically just running amok, being in pain
sort of
and
defending
unhappy.
The lab also, like, no, you can't stop this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's all pretty frenetic. And they're fighting. We have moments of like Venom saves the scientist from one of the big monster guys. Yeah. Ms. Marvel is very like the moral compass of this entire group the whole time, where she's like, they don't deserve to die and all this stuff. She realizes that that the patients are all in pain, and she's like, we have to heal these people. Yeah. And, Wolverine and everybody's just like trying to fight him. So she goes to the scientist and she's like, how do we fix these? And he's like, well, luckily enough, there's an anti-agent to what I just did. Oh. And she's like, sweet. And he's like, however, you destroyed the containers. So you have to figure out how you're going to administer it to all of these people. Yeah. doesn't really seem to be that much of an issue. She takes all the stuff out. She like passes them around to the superhero guys, and they all just kind of stab all the guys. They go back to regular terminal illness, and that's sort of the end of that. Yeah. They've solved that problem.
Yes, Wolverine says he's going to call in X-Force to kind of clean up the mess and get things back on track, and we're in a good place.
They have the scientist. They're going to bring him to justice, I guess. Yes. But the peacock tattoo guy has escaped.
Yes.
Ms. Marvel kind of connects with Venom, which was a nice thing, knowing Venom-y backstory. Yeah. Because it's nice for her because she can have kind of a mentor-y moment that is unusual for her as the young one, where she says, like, you know, you think you're bad, but you're doing good things.
Yeah. She says that Eddie
would be proud of you. She says, I don't know what Eddie is to you, but he would have been proud.
Right.
Which, knowing who he is sweet, because like the relationship between Eddie and his son is very fraught. Yeah. And I think that was a really nice moment for him to have someone really like tell him he's good and that Eddie would be proud. It was sweet. Yeah. It was a nice moment. Nice. So that's it. That's the end of it. They've sort of solved the issue. I mean, I guess the main lingering stuff is just that the X-Men are now going to go off and deal with the Xeno situation.
Yeah. So we've put Ms. Marvel in this place where her connections with the broader universe is growing. This kind of sets her up to be a key player in Dark Web, which we've already covered. And then things get a little bit more mutant-y as things go on. Should we talk about this a little bit?
Going forward in the comics, and kind of like right now and very current, I don't know if I want to say how, but certain things happen so that the X gene that Kamala has, she has like a latent X gene that gets activated. Yes. And so she's going to end up being both an Inhuman and a mutant. Yeah. And so going forward, there's going to be a lot more interaction with the mutant community, with the X-Men, for Ms. Marvel.
Yes. There is a comic book that's coming out now at time of recording called Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant, which is written by Iman Vellani, who plays Ms. Marvel in the MCU.
I heard about that. I keep seeing on like Instagram and stuff. Things from her being like, I'm making a comic.
I feel like they're doing that more and more because like Nicole Maines, who is Dreamer in the CW world, is writing a bunch of Dreamer stuff like in the comics, which is really neat. Yeah. They did, when Shazam Fury of the Gods came out, they did a kind of a one-off where all the Shazam cast wrote stories about their characters, and it was in a collection. I think that's neat because I feel like, you know, the actor has such a different perspective on what it's like to be that character. It doesn't mean they're good writers, but like they have an interesting perspective, and I like that we're sort of tapping into that and letting those things combine.
I'm always interested in actors who do characters for an extended time, characters in a really heightened type of storyline and stuff. I feel like they get to embody the character in a way that I think people underestimate a lot of the time. So I think it's cool to see publishers kind of recognize that that's a valuable thing, because it seems like, you know, oh, you're just an actor, but there's something about the way that they embody those characters over time. I feel like they really almost become them in a way that people don't necessarily buy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they could answer a question like, you know, how would Ms. Marvel respond to this situation? Right. She would have a different perspective there. So, yeah, I think that's very cool. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And I think it makes sense to sort of bring her in the fold as a mutant. I mean, much like the Fantastic Four can't find a foothold, the Inhumans really can't find a foothold. They just can't make that.
I mean, I liked seeing Ms. Marvel sort of as a go-between for the Inhumans and the X-Men. Yeah. I thought that was a cool thing before she was connected directly to the X-Men. Yeah. Just because, I mean, I'm talking about when the Inhumans and the mutants were at war.
Ugh. I did not enjoy that arc, but yes.
No, I didn't either. But I did think it was cool that the Inhumans sort of recruited Ms. Marvel because she's an Inhuman, and she was all gung-ho, and then she like faced the mutants and was like, hang on, right, what is happening? And sort of like ended up going back on the other side. So that's kind of an interesting precursor to her ending up being a mutant as well.
Yeah, definitely. On the topic of the Inhumans, I'm loving the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur show.
Of course you are.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's Ms. Marvel, Fists of Justice.
Okay.
Did you like it?
I did. Yeah. I mean, it's short. It's to the point. It doesn't tie everything up nicely, but I think as far as a character piece for Kamala, it works well. I like going back to her, roots with Wolverine, because that was really early in the character's existence. So, like, tying that together, yeah, I think it's a pretty satisfying little, 3-issue arc.
Yeah, I think I liked it too. And I feel like I understand her more.
Yeah.
Okay, well, next time we're going to be taking the animated series out of order a little bit just for the holidays and doing Have Yourself a Morlock Little Christmas.
In the last episode, you said Have Yourself a Merry Little Morlock.
That's what was written down.
And I wish that's what it was, because I think that's so funny.
I mean, it's a
better title.
It's a better title, and also neither of them makes any sense.
No, they don't, so why not say Merry Little Morlock?
Merry Little Morlock.
In my heart, that's what it is.
Then you just picture that little green guy just being like, I'm a merry little Morlock.
That's right.
Anyway, Eric's like screaming the name of that guy. Yeah. I can't remember what it is.
Probably.
His name is Leech Hilary. Read your X-Men, Hilary.
Anyway, so that's next time. For now, thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. Previously on X-Men is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include This and Dorian Life, 90s Music Got Me Like, and 9021 Here We Go, where they just finished season 7.
Yeah, making our way.
The only way you know how.
That's right.
Follow us on X or Facebook at Previously on X. Please rate, subscribe, or share this show wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.
You're just quoting the Dukes of Hazzard. I just want
I
you
was.
to know.
I
Okay.
know I
All right.
Leech, the green guy. And on cartoon, he's all like, Leech, sorry. Leech didn't mean to hurt you. Leech,